Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON Silicon Valley. Bhatisiddhanta Saraswathi Thakur Prabhupada's Holy Disappearance Day, 2019. Hari Bol. So, I'm not sorry that we started late. I really enjoyed the kirtan of the kids. Give please another round of applause. Normally we would start with some bhajan or something, but I think because time is short, we can just recite the Mangala Charanam of our previous acharyas. So everybody just please sing along rather than call and response. Om Ajnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Next slide. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyaham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanugha Virudhapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambhar Sambhode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Surupaya Rupanugavarayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumestvang Nirdeshta Sajjana Priyaha Vaishnava Sarva Bhoma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakang Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatang Surato Pangor Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsarvasva Padam Bhojao Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumadha Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanastao Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devao Preshtali Bhiksevamana Osmarami Shriman Rasarasarambi Vangshivata Tatasthitaha Karshan Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestunaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, on this most auspicious occasion of the Tirobhava of Srila Bhatisiddhanta Vaibhava, Srila Bhatisiddhanta Saraswathi Thakur Prabhupada, I feel very humbled and honored to be able to speak, even though I'm unqualified to speak about such a great personality. Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master. When Srila Prabhupada was asked about him, he said, "What can I say? He's a Vaikuntha man." Actually, he is this great acharya who really established the principles on which Srila Prabhupada established ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada often told us, if I have any credit, it's that I've given you exactly what I've received from my spiritual master in disciplic succession. Srila Bhatisiddhanta was the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was actually an avatar, Kamala Manjari from Krishna Loka, and he had come to with the mission to rescue, and he succeeded in rescuing this Gaudiya Vaishnavism from a kind of disrepute that it had fallen into, that the people in modern times, India had, well, you all know India history better than me, but the British Empire had established in Bengal at least an education system in which the Bhadralog, or the more important elite members of Bengali society, started to look down on Hinduism or try to reform it in different ways to bring it into line with what they thought was more suitable for intelligent, educated people. And Vaishnavism in Bengal, at least, has started to be looked down at, mostly because the Sahajias, Prakriti Sahajias and things had misunderstood it or misapplied the true message of Lord Chaitanya. There were a lot of upper sampradayas, but it was seen as a religion for the less educated, the beggars, the fools, and people didn't understand Krishna's Leela, Krishna's pastimes. Christians made fun of Hindus as immoral, and a lot of times they portrayed Krishna as this immoral god engaging in sex pastimes, and most people didn't understand the Srimad Bhagavatam, the divine theology, or didn't even understand there was a great theology in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. They didn't know who Jiva Goswami was. They'd never read Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur rescued that and established, and he fought against the different various apasiddhantas that had grown up within Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And also, he fought against the various attempts to reconcile Hinduism with modernity by compromising the authority of the Vedas. So there was this Bengali Renaissance in the late 18th, early 19th centuries that led to like Ram Mohan Roy, and the Brahmo Samaj was later formed, and then in the 1870s Arya Samaj was formed, and these were like various things that didn't accept the Puranas, didn't accept deity worship, didn't accept a lot of things, even karma, reincarnation, and they emphasized mostly impersonalistic thought. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed that he could have a son who would be like a ray of Vishnu, who could help him in his work to establish Krishna consciousness all over the world. And Bimala Prasad, his son, he saw from a very young age. When Bimala Prasad was 5 years old, or no, younger, 5 months old, I'm sorry, the Rath Yatra, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a house on Grand Way there, the boulevard, what's it called? Grand Road. And the Rath Yatra cart, as it was doing its procession down towards Gundicha temple, it stopped. The cart stopped for 3 days in front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur kept up a continual Sankirtan party there, and offering all kinds of prasadam to everyone and so forth. And he instructed his wife to take Bhaktisiddhanta up to the Rath Yatra cart. Bhaktisiddhanta, Bimala Prasad, the 5-month-old baby, immediately touched the Lord's lotus feet, and a garland fell right onto his body. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur understood this was a sign that this was the son he had been praying for, and he dedicated himself to carefully taking care of the education and the training of Bhaktisiddhanta Bimala Prasad. And when Bimala Prasad was no more than 4 years old, he had eaten some mango in the house. He was just a 4-year-old boy, and he'd eaten some mango before it had been offered to the deities. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur chastised him and said, "Oh, everything must be offered to Krishna. You can't eat it. Everything belongs to Krishna, and it's for his enjoyment, and you've committed a great offense." And Bhaktisiddhanta, from that time on, he took a vow never to eat mango. And even after he had become renowned as a great spiritual teacher, if people offered him mango, he would say, "No, I can't accept, I'm an offender." And he would quote the verse from Brahma Samhita, "Ishavasyam idang sarvang yat kincha jagatyang jagattena tyaktena bunjita ma grita kasya svidhanam." I can't take anything everything is Krishna's property for his enjoyment. So, to go through his whole biography and to go through his whole, and especially to go through his whole influence on this modern Hare Krishna movement, which he practically invented. Really, this is our debt to Bhaktisiddhanta, that on the instructions of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he continued his work to, first of all, destroy the apasampradayas, apasiddhantas that were, or to, purify Vaishnavism from those bad influences that were keeping Vaishnavism sort of unready to spread throughout the world. And he was able to establish, constantly thinking of how to actually preach and spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world, which was his father's mission. His father had wanted Europeans, Americans, people from all over the world to come to Sri Mayapur, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, and chant Hare Krishna together. He understood that this was actually not, as it was misunderstood, not just some sentimental religion that intellectual people wouldn't take interest in. Even in Lord Chaitanya's times, the Mayavadi sannyasis were saying, "Why are you out chanting Hare Krishna and crying and being so emotional? This is not, you should be, to be spiritual, you should be, stolid and how do you say, stoic, and studying Vedanta very carefully and making philosophical arguments." And Lord Chaitanya was out chanting and crying. But Lord Chaitanya established that the real proper understanding of Vedanta, and he had many followers like the great Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that accepted that. Now he explained them the correct understanding of Vedanta, which is that ultimately the goal of all spiritual practice, of all life really, is to attain prema, the love of Krishna, and especially the highest method of worshipping Krishna and prema was that of these cowherd girls of Vrindavan. So Bhaktisiddhanta helped establish that. He established this Gaudiya Math with 20 sannyasis and many also successful people in householders who are in business and in other things, like our Srila Prabhupada, and established 64 maths all over India, and sent his disciples to England to preach and to start a hostel there. He, before he did that, he was in Puri with his father when he was a teenager. Well, when he was 7 years old, he could recite the whole Bhagavad Gita and explain all the verses according to proper Vaishnava Siddhanta. And by the time he was 15 years old, he had made important contributions to astrology and astronomy. And his teachers had awarded him the title Bhatisiddhanta Saraswathi because of his work in Jyotish. And when he was in Puri, there was a famous sannyasi who had given up, renounced the world and become a serious preacher. His name was Charan Das Maharaj. And he had begun, he was certainly a faithful worshipper of Krishna, but he had begun saying instead of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one should chant Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram, right? They still, if you go to Haridas Thakur Samadhi now, you'll see that's what they're chanting there because they're his followers. And Bhaktisiddhanta opposed this, that to change things like that, only a great acharya can establish that. Lord Chaitanya already established chanting of Hare Krishna, which is a Vedic mantra, and this was our Yuga Dharma to chant Hare Krishna mantra. So even as a young man, he was attacking a very senior and very highly respected sannyasi, and he was getting death threats from followers of Charan Das Goswami, and eventually Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent him to Mayapur, to where Lord Chaitanya's birthplace had been discovered. And when Bhaktisiddhanta was a baby and a young child, he was very much beloved by Jagannath Das Babaji Thakur. And Jagannath Das Babaji confirmed Bhaktivinoda Thakur's work in actually locating where the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya was, in Mayapur, not over in Kalia. And now, when he was something 19-year-old or 18-year-old young man, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, we can't get anyone to take care of that ashram there at Mayapur, at the Yoga Pith. It's out in the jungle, there's nobody around, there's no support for it. It's, even if you pay some pujari to stay there, they won't stay. And so he said, I'm deputing you to go there. And Bhaktisiddhanta stayed there, and he made a vow that he would chant 1 billion names, holy names, which his father had done, and Jagannath Das Babaji had done. And so he chanted 3 lakhs a day, that is 192 rounds a day, for almost 10 years, like 9.5 years, something like that. So every month he was chanting 1 million names for 1,000 months. And after he did that, then he was ready to establish his mission, his preaching mission. And he composed the song that you may have heard the children singing earlier, Dushtamana, what kind of Vaishnav are you, my mind, that you're chanting in a secluded place, pretending to be, an elevated yogi, but you're really only cheating. You're chanting the holy names is really cheating, that Krishna wants you to go to preach, to chant Hare Krishna and Kirtan with all the people, like Lord Chaitanya established, and rather you want to pose as a great Paramahansa in the forest, but it's really just for material adoration and fame, which is like stool. You shouldn't be interested in it. So he took up his father's work to preach Krishna consciousness all over the world, and he did this in many creative and different ways. And I wanted to speak about some of those ways. I've got a little more time, a little more than a half an hour. I also want to, by the way, if anyone has any any questions, comments, realizations, Balimardan Prabhu or anyone, please raise your hand, and we have microphones around to also talk. Because there's so much to say about Bhaktisiddhanta, how could we cover it all? But I wanted to introduce to you, in case you haven't all seen it already, there's a 3-volume book by His Holiness Bhakti-Vikas Swami. It's called Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava. And it truly is a masterpiece book on Bhaktisiddhanta's life, his teachings, his associates, his publications. The first 2 volumes, in volume 1 there's a biography, short biography, but then it becomes topical. And it starts talking about other things, different things that were important, his contributions, that he really established. Like, for example, he established the sannyas order within Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And he emphasized sannyas, he emphasized renunciation, the mood of renunciation, but he emphasized yukta vairagya, that is, that things that can be used in devotional service, especially the preaching of the holy name, should be used and not renounced, thinking them to be material. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. We worship Krishna using his energy. It's not illusory. It's something we can use for Krishna, and when we use it in the way that Krishna intends us to use it, then it becomes Krishnaized, and it's transcendental. So he emphasized this yukta vairagya, which was established by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, who distinguished Falgu vairagya, or let's say weak renunciation, feeble renunciation, from yukta vairagya, which is that everything should be engaged properly in devotional service. Therefore, he accepted things that other sadhus criticized him for and were horrified that he rode in a car, and he he installed a Western-style toilet, and he did some other things for the sake of preaching. Even donned a Western. There's a picture of him with a button coat with buttons on it that he has on, and other sadhus are saying, and wearing shoes, and other sadhus were saying, "Oh, this is not how a sadhu is supposed to dress." But he accepted for the principle of preaching. He got his disciples. He sent his disciples to London, booted and suited, to go preach to Westerners, and his disciples, they didn't have much money. They had, worked very hard to collect money for printing. This was an important facet that he told our Srila Prabhupada, if you ever get money, use it to print transcendental literature about Krishna. In fact, he passed away just after New Year's in January of 1937. Shortly before that, in 1936, in the end of the year, Srila Prabhupada had written him and asked him that, you have so many disciples who are sannyasis and, powerful, famous preachers, but what specifically can I do to serve you? And Bhaktisiddhanta had written him back that you should write literature for the English-speaking world, and that will be good for you, and it will also be good for those who read what you've written. Previously, when Srila Prabhupada first met Bhaktisiddhanta in 1922, Srila Prabhupada had just become a householder, and just recently had his first child, I believe. And Srila Prabhupada's father had been a pure Vaishnava, and who always was introducing him to different sadhus for him to respect. But he didn't respect most of the sadhus. He saw that they were smoking, and they were, and they weren't. There was an intensity about Bhaktisiddhanta, and there was a force to his preaching. He wasn't wishy-washy at all. He was, in fact, people criticized him because he was establishing, no, this is science. There really is a spirit soul. And in other words, he didn't say, you may believe this, I may believe that, let's all get along. He said, no, you're wrong about this. You're wrong about that. Shastra says this, Shastra says that. That was also a quality for us. When Srila Prabhupada was preaching in America, there were other yogis and swamis who would often be very sort of like open-minded, and also they wouldn't have much of a doctrine. It was just about feeling good being around a holy person or something, a lot of them. And Srila Prabhupada came, and yes, he told us this is not just a mental exercise. We have to change our heart and have real devotion. And it was mainly through chanting. But also, he gave us a doctrine. And he gave us books to read, books that establish things in concrete. Prabhupada would say that if you attend a lecture, what will people remember after they go home? They have a good feeling, or they have some, impression, but then they forget it later. But if you give them books, then they have something concrete that stays with them. Or Vaisheshika says, even if you don't read it, if you put it in your house, it will bring good fortune to you. And it's a fact. So Bhaktisiddhanta his father had trained him up early in the use of printing presses. And he took that to heart. In fact, in the logo for the Gaudiya Math, he had a printing press front and center as part of the logo. And he said that that was the big mridanga, the giant, the grand-sized drum. You know, a regular kirtan party will chant in the street, and you can hear them for maybe a few blocks. But printing books about Krishna will be heard all over the world. And so our Srila Prabhupada told us that he said that he was following this instruction blindly. He said that, I'm following blindly. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was not blindly doing anything. He was fully enlightened about everything. But he said that, I think, for our benefit, that even if we don't understand it, sometimes I hear some of Prabhupada's disciples say, well, what's the point of distributing all these books? Who's going to read them? But everyone who's coming, they've read Prabhupada's books mostly. That's why they're coming. But they say that, people disrespect the books. It's not going to change anything. But actually, it really works. It's the only thing that really works that well. And Srila Prabhupada said that by following his instructions, his spiritual master's instructions to the T, that he saw that it was success beyond his dreams. So I wanted to say a few things. Jagarini and I had the good fortune of associating with Bhatahari Prabhu and his wife Kosharupa last couple of days, or a few days, on and off. And I asked Bhatahari, what should I say about Bhaktisiddhanta? And he mentioned that the philosophy of the seer and the seen. So I want to read something about that to you. But I also want to say, Kosharupa was talking this morning, we were talking about how some devotees have differences of opinion on how the preaching movement should be run and how things should be, different rules should be followed or adjustments to be made, for time and circumstance to be able to be successful and stuff. And one thing she said was that when you have a great personality, then all those disagreements go away, they're harmonized. And I remember there were times in ISKCON, in development of ISKCON, where devotees were quarreling with one another, and they resolved to take their matter to Srila Prabhupada and have him address their grievances. But by the time they all got there in front of Srila Prabhupada, everything just melted away. Like they were in Prabhupada's presence, they realized that their grievances were trivial and not that important. Bhaktisiddhanta was like that. He had so much to contend with to really establish that Lord Chaitanya's movement is really this highest movement that's meant for the greatest people. He, by the way, he preached amongst the intellectuals and the elites, and people criticized him for that too. They said, why don't you go help the poor and the downtrodden? Well, he was preaching to them too, but he felt like you're all poor and downtrodden. But if the elites can take this up and can understand it and follow it, others will follow. Yad yadacharati shreshtas tad evetaro janaha. So whatever a great man does, a common person will follow. I know that when Srila Prabhupada came to America, Allen Ginsberg said that other swamis would go uptown and preach among the rich people, but Prabhupada went down to the Lower East Side and ministered to the poor and the young hippies and things like that. But actually, Prabhupada intended us to, that we should also convince the presidents and high court judges to wear tilak, and I guess Bhaktivinoda Thakur predicted that high court judges would wear tilak. Bhaktisiddhanta said that this movement won't be really felt until the high court judges are wearing tilak. So this was important. He knew all these people, Rabindranath Tagore spoke to him, and Subhash Chandra Bose came to him. He was saying, India needs our young people to get, to become strong and fight the English. And Bhaktisiddhanta just put him off by saying, but look at my boys, they're so skinny. But his real purpose was, when Prabhupada first met Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada was involved in the Quit India movement. It was 1922. He was wearing khadi, boycotting British cloth. And when he heard Bhaktisiddhanta speak so forcefully and so clearly about the actual dharma of all jivas from Lord Chaitanya's teachings, Srila Prabhupada said, immediately I knew, here's a person who can really spread Lord Chaitanya's teachings to the world. But still, he gave some argument, and he said to Bhaktisiddhanta, well, who will listen to our Lord Chaitanya's message while we're still a dependent country? First we'll become independent from England, and then we can preach. And Bhaktisiddhanta defeated him in argument and said that the need to spread spiritual teachings is urgent, and it doesn't have to wait for any material condition. And that so similarly, it wasn't that he was against the Indian nationalism so much as it was less important. It was and Srila Prabhupada took that. Srila Prabhupada wrote articles about that were all from what he had imbibed from Bhaktisiddhanta. He wrote that people want Ram Rajya, but they don't want Ram. It's just a political slogan, really. And what's really important is to change our hearts, and then the world will automatically change around us. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta used to say there's no scarcity of anything but Krishna consciousness. And it was popular among Hindu reformers of the day, the 19th century, even among Gandhi. They had the movement to better the lives of the Dalits and so forth. But Srila Prabhupada would say, not that we just rubber stamp and make a new name, or Harijana, something like that, but we actually teach people to become uplifted people. So Bhaktisiddhanta was actually giving the Brahmin thread initiation to people. Well, Bhaktisiddhanta himself was not from a caste Brahmin family. His family, they were Kayasthas, but in Bengal, this Kayasthas often were big zamindars and things. A lot of Lord Chaitanya's followers, Narottam Das Thakur, Raghunath Das Goswami, they came from such families. And so Bhaktisiddhanta had to also establish that you don't have to be born in a Brahmin family to worship Shalagram Shila. You don't have to be born in a Brahmin family to actually get initiated into the Vaishnava cult and properly worship the deity and properly chant Hare Krishna or chant the Gayatri mantra or study the Vedas. But the point was not about just material welfare work, making people's miserable condition in the material world a little bit better, but to actually deliver us from the cycle of birth and death. And that was important. And that was all important. So I wanted to read something about the seer and the seen, which Bhattahari suggested me to talk about. And let me see where it is. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. Let me read just from the beginning of the chapter first on the seer and the seen. So this book, it has a little biographical beginning, and then it becomes topical, and it has different preaching things he did and different important positions he took for preaching, and and different innovations he made. And then it also discusses his associates, his disciples, and friends, and then in the third volume, it contains materials like source materials, things that he wrote, things his astrology chart and other things, because he was also, it should be understood that he was also an avatar that was sent here to do important things, and he did very important things, just like Srila Prabhupada also succeeded in the mission to preach Krishna consciousness. So 510 is the Pushpanjali. He succeeded, Srila Prabhupada succeeded where the other sannyasis had failed in actually spreading Krishna consciousness in a big way in the West. They had made some disciples. Their contribution shouldn't be minimized. But actually Bhaktisiddhanta called them back because it wasn't the kind of success that he was expecting. Srila Prabhupada came penniless without any support, but he had written first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he came and chanted in the park and started this whole movement, which by strictly following Bhaktisiddhanta's orders. So the beginning of this chapter is called The Seer and the Seen, and it was a very important part of the philosophy that Bhaktisiddhanta was teaching. And the chapter begins, Drashta, the seer, and Drishya, the seen. Are we Drashta or Drishya? Whatever I have to say, my whole message is based on this is Bhaktisiddhanta talking, on proper comprehension of this truth. But how few people have really understood this Drig Drishya Vichar. Showering tears, Srila Bhatisiddhanta Saraswathi Thakur repeatedly spoke thus to Sripad Sundarananda Vidyavinod, while Sundarananda was preparing materials for Saraswati Thakur's biography. The topic of Drashta and Drishya is discussed in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and other Shastras, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta clarified and stressed the point in perhaps more than any other previous acharya. He said, a bhogi, one who attempts to enjoy this world, considers himself drashta, the seer, and everything else, including the Supreme Lord, to be drishya, his object of vision, darshan. Due to their bitter experience of this world, so-called renouncers wish to deny the plurality of drashta, drishya, and darshan, and thus regard them as one. Only devotees have the proper vision to appreciate that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and alone is fully independent and no one's servant. But being drashta should be served by all. For the jivas and all else that be are drishya, objects of his darshan. So this philosophy is very deep. Of course, we do want to see Krishna, and we become very happy in experiencing and direct perception and realization of spiritual truth. But how do we perceive that is through transcendental senses when we're dedicated to service. And we're not dedicated to service because it makes us happy. I was speaking, Bhaktivatsal was saying this to me a little while ago, that one time we were in Mayapur and we were all chanting. We went on this transcendental boat ride across the Jalangi over to just on the other side of ISKCON Mayapur. There's a new temple there. And we were having this fabulous kirtan, and we were dancing around the deities, and we were very, very happy, feeling liberated from birth and death and liberated from all material distress. And one very nice devotee told me, this is what it's all about. And I said, yes, it is. And then Bhaktivatsal reminded me, no, it's about serving Krishna. Not trying to enjoy. Well, Krishna consciousness makes us very happy, but that's not why we do it, just to become happy. Of course, Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. But the real thing, the real way we realize that we're not the enjoyers. Krishna's the enjoyer, and Krishna's the seer, and we're the objects of his vision. So sometimes Bhaktisiddhanta would say, don't try to see Krishna, try to act in such a way that Krishna wants to see you. And here's a lecture that he delivered in 1936, on the 10th of November. This is from the lecture. I see the statue. This kind of thinking is in the spirit of enjoyment, whereas the deity sees me, my uncovered pure self is deity darshan. If in the same way that I see a movie, drama, or gymnastic display, or hear a song, I think, I can see the deity with my eyes and fathom him by my intelligence, such an attempt will be on the material platform. One will derive no benefit from such inclinations not meant for satisfying the Lord's senses. Faith in the Lord entails not having faith in mundane enjoyment or renunciation. If one has faith in this world, then that is bhoga, enjoyment. The objects of the world are for my enjoyment. Such a mentality is due not to having initiation, and spiritual knowledge. Worldly people are completely different from devotees. Difficulties occur when one thinks that he who is to be served should serve oneself. O Lord, take notice of me. I am coming to collect dues from you in the form of dharma, artha, kama, moksha for sense gratification. One time, when Bhaktisiddhanta was a young student, some English professor asked him to say something about Christianity. And he said, I think your prayers, give us this day our daily bread, is similar to the Shaktas who, like he pointed some kind of karmakanda in Hinduism that he was particularly describing, which, also Srila Prabhupada, when he was in Scottish Churches College, one professor was trying to say that the idea of karma was ridiculous because there's no witness. But Srila Prabhupada said, even though I knew the answer, and of course there is witness, super soul, even the sun, the moon, the wind, everything is witnessing us, it says in Srimad Bhagavatam. But he said, I didn't fight with him at that time. But Bhaktisiddhanta would give it right back to them, Yeah, I think your Christianity is very similar to some inferior form of Vedic religion. But the real thing is this. Hiding his inner intention, a person says, Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me, O Lord of the universe, be visible to me, and other such delirious karmakandiya words. This is not bhakti. I went and saw the holy place. I went and saw the tree. I went and saw Jagannath. I went and saw the sadhu. Bestowing on them a degree, I have dismissed them and come here. All of this is a matter of enjoyment and cannot be at all called service. If the consideration of who am I has not entered the heart, and if sambandha gyan concerning my eternal object of worship never arises, then how will Shraddha and Sharanagati develop? And the lecture goes on. There was another point that I was reading here where one of the leading preachers of Gaudiya Math, Ananta Vasudev, had during a Gaudiya Math festival, a Shastri known for being fond of good food was sitting at Prasadam. And while he was relishing the opulent Malpura, Ananta Vasudev Prabhu addressed him, O Shastri, consider whether you're eating Malpura or the Malpura is eating you. So he said, Pandit Hana Kene Na Karaha Bichar. Being a scholar, why don't you judge the matter? So the Shastri became offended. He didn't understand the question. He thought he was being chastised for being, I think he wrote a letter. He actually went and wrote a letter to Bhaktisiddhanta saying, I went to the festival at the Mat, yet while taking prasadam I became disturbed at heart. I am not a poor man. I am getting a pension from the government. My 2 sons are earning well. My wife is most expert at preparing delicious varieties of food. I have eaten plenty of Malpura. I did not come to the Mat to gorge on Malpura. He misunderstood what the Vaishnava was saying. He thought he was criticizing, like, you come here just to eat this food. He said, the sannyasi told me, are you eating Malpura or is the Malpura eating you? Hearing that, I became doleful. Am I so greedy that the Malpura would eat me? So Bhaktisiddhanta commented to his disciples that who can understand this teaching? Can the learned people of this world comprehend Vasudev's question? Even among us, are there more than a few persons who can grasp it? It is not within the ability of humankind to appreciate these matters. Only by Krishna's mercy can all this be realized. A reply was sent to the Shastri conveying the real meaning of Vasudeva Prabhu's words. It is not fitting that we eat the prasada of the Lord, that is, that we measure it. If prasada enjoys us, eats us, makes us its own, then we will conquer over matter. And that will be to our benefit. The meaning of prasad is favor or mercy. The remnants of a Vaishnava's prasad are called Maha Maha Prasad. The Bhagavatam states, Tvayo pabhukta sragandha vaso lankara charchitaha uchishta bhojino dasas tavamayang jayemahi. Simply by decorating ourselves with the garlands, fragrant oils, clothes, and ornaments that you have already enjoyed, and by eating the remnants of your meals, we, your servants, will conquer your illusory energy. One should consider oneself the object of vision or enjoyment for the prasada of the Lord or his devotee. To think oneself the seer and enjoyer will cause one to enter deeper within the kingdom of Maya. Brahmavan nirvikarang hi yata vishnus tataiva tat. Vishnu Prasad is as transcendental and free from degrading transformation as is Vishnu himself. So we can't measure with our intellect or with our abilities, our material senses, we can't understand Krishna's form, although it's nice that we want to. But the way to understand it is to recognize our actual position as Krishna's servants, and then our transcendental senses will awaken. We can, if people say, well, what color is Krishna? And we can describe, well, he's like a cloud, or he's like a tamal tree or something, but it's a transcendental color that you can only experience with transcendental senses, and you only get those senses when you become free of material contamination and false ego, the essence of which is to think of ourselves as the seers rather than the seen. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhatisiddhanta Saraswathi Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. So now we have a Pushpanjali ceremony in honor of Srila Bhatisiddhanta. I didn't get to everything I wanted to read. Yes, Prabhu. Here, use this.
Maybe can somebody get the flowers? In the meantime, I speak. Okay. So one thing is, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in Odisha, and there is a devotee, Jagannath Das. He's not Jagannath Das Babaji, but Jagannath Das, who has written Bhagavatam, the Odia Bhagavatam, and he used to present, and that's why the 12 sampradayas, one of them is also Ati Badi, which is, so we met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and oh yeah, I know, this is he bypassed Sarup Damodar, and sometimes he said he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, presented the Srimad Bhagavatam, I have written and things like that. But Mahaprabhu wanted to go through the disciple section when Sarup Damodar is secretary to come. But again, he said that, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came at the laughter of Krishna, and I came laughter of Radharani. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, you are Ati, but you are too great. But he got that title and make a big thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this title. But you need to understand in what mood the title was given, sarcastic or, or the real value.
You came for the laughter of Radharani.
So then, but he has been again prisoned by Pratap Rudra because he was massaged by the young woman. Also, he said that I don't differentiate, things like that. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approved Ramananda Rai for that activities, but here he didn't say anything. But however, again he came back, and there is in Puri, if you go a little bit, Sat Lahada Ashram, means 7 waves, the ocean went back when he established his ashram. That's the people respect, the ocean is also afraid of him. I don't know what the reason is, but that was but he has written this Srimad Bhagavatam in Odisha, very good, and Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj also, given those analysis of what are those symptoms of those Atibadis. So one should be very careful scrutinizing. Yeah.
So that's one of the, Ativadi is one of the Apasampradayas?
Ativadi is also one of the Apasampradaya. Means they are close to, not like the Baula, Aula, which is more on the Sufi Muslims combination of those things, but Ativadi is like the little bit of closer to pure devotional service, but the feeling of me as superior, that still remains. Dasya Bhav is still.
There's one other thing that I wanted to read, and I won't read the whole thing, but it's from Srila Prabhupada's lecture on Bhaktisiddhanta's Disappearance Day. And I'll just read the last paragraph because he's talking about the preaching mission. And he says, so every disciple, especially those who are competent, he requested them, "You take up the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and preach in the Western countries." That was Srila Bhatisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's first attempt. Before that, even the Acharyas, Rupanuga Goswamis, they left literature but did not attempt to preach practically. And Srila Bhatisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was very, very anxious to preach this Chaitanya cult in the Western countries. This is Srila Bhatisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's special contribution. So, Prabhupada, taking this desire of his Guru Maharaj and his instruction of his Guru Maharaj to write books in English, he fulfilled that desire. We can see what an example of a successful disciple is, that Srila Prabhupada was able to do this and carry out his Guru Maharaj's mission. Hare Krishna.
Akruranath Prabhu ki jai. So we'll stand up now.
So we'll stand up and everyone take enough flowers. Remember to keep enough for 3 times. You're going to throw the... Please pick up all the maps and the chairs.
Yeah, please.
And we'll gather in front, and you'll see there's a picture of Srila Bhatisiddhanta Saraswati by Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa son. And what we'll do is we'll read through the... Okay. My GBC. Yeah? She's my GBC. Yeah. It's back here. It's back here. Oh, thank you. So we will chant through the Mangalacharanam prayers one time through the whole thing, and then we'll just chant the pranam prayers for Bhaktisiddhanta, and offer each. So after the first time we'll say Pushpanjali, we'll offer flowers, but save some flowers so that you have enough for 3 times. And then 2 more times we'll just do Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's pranams and throw the flowers. Hare Krishna. So please repeat after me this time. We won't do it in unison, but we'll do it. Please repeat. Om Ajnana Timarantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupang Sagrajatang Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadbetam Savadhutang Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhatisiddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayataya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambhara Sambhode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumestvang Nirdeshta Sajjana Priyaha Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakang Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatang Surato Pangor Mama Mandamatergati Matsarvasvapadam Bhojao Radha Madana Mohanao Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanastao Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devao Preshtali Bhik Sevyamana Smarami Shriman Rasarasarampi Bangshi Vatatatakstitaha Karshan Venusvanayar Gopir Gopinatak Shriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pushpanjali. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Namine, Shri Varshabhanavi Devi, Daitaya Kripabdhaye, Krishna Sambandha Vijnana, Dayane Prabhave Namaha, Madhuryojvala Premadhya, Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida, Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti, Vigrahaya Namostute, Namaste Gauravani, Shri Murtaye Dinatarine, Rupanuga Virodhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine, Pushpanjali. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Namine, Shri Varshabhanavi Devi, Dayataya Kripabdhaye, Krishna Sambandha Vijnana, Dayane Prabhave Namaha, Madhuryojvala Premadhya, Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida, Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti, Vigrahaya Namostute, Namaste Gauravani, Shri Murtaye Dinatarine, Rupanuga Virodhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine, Pushpanjali. Srila Bhatisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai.
So I request someone to just clean broom this one, flowers on the bottom.